I used to run the Home Depot. So I would get up in the morning. I would go to Home Depot. I'd bring all this material to my job site from the guys that were working on it, or for me when I was working on it. And I would probably take 3 to 5 trips to Home Depot every single day, every day. I remember one day I was driving with my car. I had a 2004 Nissan Altima, and I would load that thing up. I had concrete bags in the back. I had 2x4s. I had all kinds of stuff in there. I'm driving my Nissan Altima down Central Avenue going into Minneapolis from Columbia Heights, and I hit this railroad track bed, and bam, my shocks go out, and I hear this big bam, and then scraping like on my car. And I'm like, what is going on? Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with HomeInvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com/pillars to claim your free course today. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, as always, is John Stiles with Bridge Realty. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a good day to be alive, Todd. How about yourself?
I am doing fantastic. And I know it was just on, but if anybody does want to donate to the best Christmas ever, this is really probably the last week you can really do that. So go on there, figure out if you want to make a donation. We'd love to have it. And we're trying to make a difference in a lot of families' lives, but if you want to donate specifically to the family that we're supporting, that'd be great. Otherwise, you can donate honestly to any of the families just by going to the bcemovement.org if you feel so moved. So
sounds good. It's a good time to be thinking about how blessed we are and how much other people can use our input into their lives.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people obviously that need support. So I understand, if you don't put money towards, the BCE, because there's so many organizations, there's so many people that need support. As long as you're out there, if you're able to, if you're financially, in a stable condition, giving to others is really important, because there's a lot of people that are just, they've got a lot of problems going on, and a lot of times really of no fault of their own. Like in this case, this family, you can't blame the family for their daughter having cancer. You just can't. Obviously that's of no fault of anybody's, and that just, unfortunate things happen to people. And so to be there to support those people is, to me, very, very valuable and important.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, cool, John. Anything you want to hit on before we get to our topic?
Nothing too exciting. I'm just, again, getting ready for my apartment seminar coming up. We send out some postcards today. I'm going through some addresses that were kicked back by the post office and double check who's on the list, making a list and checking it twice.
Checking it twice. Yep.
So,
well, cool. That's exciting. So that's happening pretty soon?
Yeah, in January.
In January. Okay. Probably better timing than this month.
Right. Yep. We were just trying to get that in before the holidays came up. And then I didn't have all the different speakers in place. So we ended up postponing it. And it's probably best because there's a lot of that goes into planning it and getting it marketed properly. So,
yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. For me, it's just more of the same. I'm just trying to get some apartment buildings, man. Just wanting to get something under contract here before the end of the year. It's a sprint now. We're almost there. My goal is to get at least 100 unit under contract. So if you got 100 unit sitting around and you want to sell it, it's distressed, I'll take a look at it, definitely. So send it my way. And then, still kind of working on the same, trying to build up some coaching and some of the other stuff I got going on. So that's it. Let's get to today's topic, John. You want to introduce it?
Sure. Well, the topic of today is scaling up your business. And what do you have to do as far as how do you know when it's time to scale up? And how do you know if scaling up is the right decision for you and your business? And then what are the different factors and things to consider? So why don't you kind of intro it from there?
Yeah, I think you made a couple good points, actually, John, is you got to decide if it's right for you and your business. And that's maybe one of the more important things is, where do you want to go with your business? Like, what do you want to do? You want to own a business that has, I'm a real estate guy, so I'll talk in real estate terms. But so you want to own a business in real estate that has 20,000 units that you can pass down to your grandkids and great grandkids. And you build this legacy, this company with hundreds of employees, something very powerful, maybe even make it into a public offering company. Is that what you're trying to build? You're trying to build something impressive like that? Or do you, maybe on the other end of the spectrum, you want 20 rental units, they're owned free and clear. You get to travel the world. Maybe you do mission trips. Maybe you do just traveling for yourself, whatever you do. But that's all you want. And neither of those are necessarily right or wrong. But if you start with the end, you can figure out then what it takes to really get there. Because at 20 units, we should be able to get there relatively quickly if we do it right. Paying them off now free and clear is a little more challenging. But if we do it right, we should be able to get there. And so what does that look like? But what are the systems that I need to put in place? What do I need to do? How do I need to scale it to get there in order for me to be able to travel the world? That's really important, or whatever the goal is. Maybe you just want to sit on your lawn chair in your backyard all day. I don't know. Or maybe you want to keep that and that's a portfolio and you want to build another business. So you got to figure out, what's that goal? What does it look like? When is it achieved? And then we can work backwards from there and dissect it. Because if we don't know where we're going to end up, how do we know how to get there? Like, you're not just going to I'm not just going to say, John, go to Florida. No maps, no phone. You can't talk to anybody. Just drive. Okay. It's going to take you a while to get to Florida if you ever get there. Now, if I tell you to go to, Orlando, Florida, and to Disney World, it's going to take even longer to get there, and you might not ever get there. And that's the same thing with your business. If you don't have any maps, any road maps, any apps, because now we have all cell phones. So you go, I don't need a map. I just plug it in my cell phone. tells me which turn to go. But I can remember as a kid, sitting down with my dad and my mom, and we're planning out this trip to Florida, or we went to South Carolina a couple times and out east and to the mountains. And I remember going through with the highlighter and highlighting the roads that we're going to be taking and the stops and where we're going to spend the night and all that kind of stuff, because you had to think a lot about that. Now you just plug it in and go, oh, boom, 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 here we go. But either way, we still have to plan. We still have to know our map. We still have to understand where we're going. So we can dissect it if we know our end location.
Yeah, that's really great. And, I think it's important that you just pointed out the distinction. Scaling up isn't for everybody. I can think back to, thinking about my ultimate goals, kind of what you described there was, when my wife and I met in college, we wanted to become missionaries. And we haven't realized that dream now 12 years later. We've kind of lost it. But if we got to a more financially better state where we didn't have to worry about our income, and now we have paid off all those college loans that were one of our hurdles that were preventing us from that dream. So I might fall into that camp rather than the 20,000 units. And that's attractive too, but maybe that's not really for me. So
yeah. But even with that, some of this other stuff that we're going to talk about is going to apply to you, maybe to a different extent, but it's still going to apply to you in order to achieve those goals. So if your ultimate goal is to become a missionary and you want to be financially free before you get there, you still have to do a lot of these things. And maybe it's not that, like the next thing I'm talking about is being obsessed about, what you're doing. Well, maybe you're not obsessed about real estate. Maybe that's just the tool to get there, but you're obsessed about becoming a missionary. Like that's what your passion is. That's what your goal is. And in order to do that, real estate's your tool to get there. I think it's really important to go and to figure out what's your why, and then have that passion and that burning desire and that obsession. For me, like I'm completely obsessed. It's probably obnoxiously obsessed. Ask my wife. Like we'll be driving down the road and I'll see something that looks like an opportunity, and I'll pull off the freeway to go look at it, write down the address and maybe the apartment complex or whatever it is. And that's just who I am. Like I see opportunity everywhere I go. I'm at the gas station the other day and I'm in an area that I like, and I see an apartment building nearby that looks and smells like opportunity. So I write that complex down and I can't get in contact and get an offer on it. I still waiting to hear if it's going to go anywhere, but that's just who I am. Like I'm just completely obsessed with it. And I think that's really important. Like if you don't have that passion or that burning desire, I think it's going to be really challenging to get there. And again, it doesn't need to necessarily be the passion or the burning desire on the tool that's going to get you there, which in my case is real estate. It could be that passion of what you're trying to achieve in the end, like being a missionary, or, maybe it's to provide this ideal and perfect life for your kids, or whatever it is. You need to have that obsession. At least in my mind, you need to have that obsession. You need to, like, I think about it when I fall asleep. I think about it when I wake up.
Yeah, I agree. And because you think about other people that go to their job and it's not something they like to do. It's they're not obsessed with their job. It's just something they have to do because they got to pay the bills, and that's a valid thing to accomplish. But there's no passion in it, and they don't have any drive to move them forward and to help them to become successful in that career. So there's definitely a different, you can just tell the different results that they're going to have compared to somebody who is so obsessed with being successful.
Yeah. And, money is not, at least that should not be your obsession. There should be a more of a concrete and substance there of like, what is that money going to provide for you? I think it was it Dean Graziosi I was reading, or I think it was Dean Graziosi, and he was talking about, getting to know your why, and asking your, question over and over and over. And I think he mentioned like 7 times, why are you doing this? And you say, you kind of give yourself an answer, or maybe you do it in exercise with somebody else. I'm doing this because of this. Well, why are you doing it? Because of this. Well, I'm doing it because of this and this. Well, why are you doing that? Because of that. And you keep on going and get deep into the layers until you finally say, that's why I'm doing it. So
That's a good tip. I haven't heard that one, but definitely there can be a lot of depth to what we do. And if we don't really uncover that, we might not realize what our purpose is in doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think with obsession, you need to be dedicated. Now there's dedication to a fault, right? You still want to take care of your family. You still want to make sure you're there for your wife and kids, or husband and kids, or whatever you've got that's part of your life. You want to make sure you're still a part of that, but you need to be completely dedicated. For me, like I think I've mentioned on the show before, 11 years ago, I just cut watching TV. Like I stopped. Now I'll tune into part of a Vikings game, or part of a Wild game every once in a while, but I'm not watching it every week. I'm not watching it every day. And that's about the only thing I'll watch. I watched, I guess, a little bit of the Olympics. So sports maybe is my only like downfall. But even with that, like I'm not spending 5 hours in front of the TV or 2 hours in front of the TV even. I'm glancing at it, and I'm usually doing something else while I'm doing it. Usually I'm trying to pick off some menial tasks that don't need a ton of attention. And that way I can kind of watch the game and kind of do that other stuff. And so I just think cutting out the things that waste your time can be really, really valuable. That way you can dedicate your time to what you're trying to achieve.
For sure. So once we've decided that we do want to scale up to whatever degree that is, and we've decided that we do have the passion to move forward, so what are some of the other practical steps that we can take to do that?
Well, I think probably the next thing is to become educated, and not only educated in your craft, because that's really important, educated in business in general. That's really important. You need to learn the ABCs of, real estate, or the ABCs of putting makeup, or whatever your craft is. You need to learn that very, very detailed, and always be staying ahead of the curve. You also need to learn how to run a business and operate it, and what are the best strategies and systems and all that kind of stuff. But then the next thing you need to do is you need to learn how to get your mindset right. Mindset is going to be 80% of your achievement, where 20% is the actual knowledge that you have. So reading books and listening to podcasts and Audible and YouTube and Bigger Pockets and LinkedIn and Facebook and all this online stuff, conferences, all that stuff is great. Just to me, education should be ongoing. It should be consistent and constant.
Yeah, I agree. Education is something I used to not like. I did it because it was something you're supposed to do. But now that I'm passionate about real estate, there's and business in general as well. There's so many topics that I just kind of crave to learn more about. And when I learn them, I just want to really understand them more and more. So.
Well, and that's just right. If you're passionate, truly passionate about what you're doing, education actually is exciting, right?
Right.
Like I love learning. Maybe you don't like reading books, so listen to audibles. Maybe you love reading books, but you figure out what that is for you, and then use that system. Some people need a course like laid out in front of them. Well, the great thing about today is that there's a course in everything. There's a coach that'll, that's in every industry. So you can get a coach, you can go buy the course. Or if you're a really good, motivated self learner, you can learn it all on your own, or maybe it needs to be a combination of both. But whatever it is, it's out there for you. And so there's no excuse not to be educated, and I continue to be educated. And then again, build yourself from within too. That's going to be extremely important. So,
yeah. And if there's something you really want to learn, I've found that it's helpful to set yourself in a position where you need to teach that thing.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
For me, that's a really good way to really focus on the content, rather than if you're just learning for the sake of learning, you can be kind of passive and you really don't digest it as well. But if you have to reteach it, you really focusing in on it. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think I said this, a few weeks ago. We talked about the, being grateful, and we had a podcast episode on being grateful. And I think I mentioned like the next week, like that got me so jazzed up about, being grateful and like consistently doing that. And I've been very consistent now on it. And part of it is because I taught it. Like I went onto the podcast and I talked about it to everybody, and it just like it graves it more into your brain. And so now after I talk about this, now I'm going to be thinking about this as well. So the more you think about it and teach it, like you said, the better off you're going to be able to have it and to learn it and to continue to grow. Hey, so this is normally where we thank our sponsor, but instead of that, through Christmas, we're going to be talking about the best Christmas ever, BCE movement.org. And we have a family that's been nominated, the group that I'm working with. So basically what the organization is every year they're supporting 200 families throughout the U.S. and world. They're basically providing the best Christmas ever to a family who's been down and out, usually through no fault of really their own. And this is the case with the family that the group that I'm working with is nominated. So this group, or this family, sorry, has a 17-year-old daughter, and Kelsey, and she was diagnosed with neuroblastoma at 6 months old and was thought of as being cured. In October, she woke up with an unexplainable black eye, was brought into Children's Hospital. Children's did scans over a 2-day period and told the family that Kelsey's cancer was back, and it spread all over her body: sinus, liver, spleen, all through her spine and bones. And right now, Kelsey's going through chemotherapy and radiation, and just a lot of stress happening on her, of course, and then the family as well. So what we're going to be doing is trying to provide them with some gifts, uh, with helping out around the house, doing some repairs, some cleaning, stuff like that. And then, providing them opportunities to be able to spend time together as a family. So if you feel moved to support that, go to bcemovement.org. Um, and I'll link the actual link to this family. There's a specific link to this family if you want to support this family that we're supporting right now. Of course, they need donations, and if you want to actually participate and be a part of it, you can reach out as well to me. You can definitely give us a message and let us know if you do want to actually partake in it. So bcemovement.org is the actual website, and go onto our show notes and you can type it, or you can click on the link that goes directly to this family. So anybody who does it, definitely appreciate it. I know there's a lot of stuff to support all throughout the year, especially this time of the year. So whatever you can do is absolutely fantastic. So the next one that I would say is, hire people, partner, build your team, make it, business is not about yourself only. You need to build relationships and you need to cultivate those relationships. And then you need to have the people around you that are going to support your end goals. And the bigger your goals are, the bigger your team's going to need to be. John, with you, if your end goal ends up being that you're going to have, 10 or 20 units and you're going to own those maybe free and clear, and you're going to sit on your lawn chair and drink margaritas all day, that's fine. But you're still going to need a team, right? Because you're not going to be able to, honestly, you're not going to be able to go on a mission trip for, maybe 5 years or 1 year or whatever it is. You're not going to be able to go do that if you don't have the right people in place. You can't just leave those properties to your tenants. Well, you can, but I think you'll have a rude awakening. So you have to have the right people in place. You have to build your team, and just in order to get those properties, you have to have the right people in place in order to do that. So it doesn't matter where you're going. You have to build a team. You don't necessarily have to have a business partner, but you have to have partners, people that are willing to work with you to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, and I don't know about other people, but I think this is one of the mental blocks that is really difficult to overcome, especially as an entrepreneur who likes to do enjoys almost all aspects of the business and likes to do it, to get it done right. And to actually let go of one aspect of the business and to spend money on somebody else doing it is it's a big mind block you have to overcome.
Yeah, John, I can remember when I started, I was doing flipping and I was buying houses and keeping them as rentals. And I was doing, at the very first, I was doing all the work myself. I would even do some of the plumbing and all that kind of stuff. And then I started hiring out some stuff, but doing the rest, doing the things I really liked. And then finally, I hired everything out. And the funny thing that happened is that's when the magic started. That's when my business actually grew. And that's when I actually started making a lot more money. And so it's actually funny because you go, well, I'm doing the work myself. Of course, I'm going to make more money doing that. Well, not when I could do 1 or 2 projects myself and they would take 6 to 9 months. And then instead I could hire people to do these projects. Now I could do 10, 15, eventually I could do, 30 or 40 a year. That then catapults your business. You can now have so much more capacity. And so it took actually hiring contractors, hiring assistants, hiring bookkeepers, and getting the right people in place in order to, to realize that, wow, I'm actually making more money than I was when I was doing it myself.
Yep. It seems counterintuitive, but if you can figure out what you're really good at and what you make the most money at, what one task or aspect of your business, and then delegate those other aspects, you can go so much further. And I think that's how we're meant to be as a human civilization, or human
Right.
being. We all have a role to play, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And so I maybe should have done this one before, but building systems and keeping it simple is probably done first, right? You've or within kind of at the same time. But when you first start a business, you should be writing down everything you're doing. And actually all the time, you should be writing down what you're doing and kind of keeping track of what your tasks are. And that way you can come up with job description and how to give things away. So once you do that, and you can come up with systems, and I can remember, again, this is going back to me. I don't like to talk about me, but going back to my flipping days and doing these rentals, I used to run the Home Depot. So I would get up in the morning. I'd I would go to Home Depot. I'd bring all this material to my job site from the guys that were working on it, or for me when I was working on it. And I would probably take 3 to 5 trips to Home Depot every single day, every day. I remember one day I was driving with my car. I had a 2004 Nissan Altima, and I would load that thing up. I had concrete bags in the back. I had 2x4s. I had all kinds of stuff in there. I'm driving my Nissan Altima down Central Avenue going into Minneapolis from Columbia Heights, and I hit this railroad track bed, and bam, my shocks go out, and I hear this big bam, and then scraping like on my car. And I'm like, what is going on? There's an auto shop, luckily, like right there. So I like scrape into the auto shop, pull in there, and my shocks went out. My shocks blew out of my car. My car was sitting at, a 45-degree angle. That's probably a little more than what it was, but it was sitting at an angle, because it was loaded down so much with crap. And that's what I'm like, I'm done. I've got to figure out a better way. So I went into Home Depot. I said, look, I'm buying a ton of material. What can we do? Can you send a Home Depot rep to my job sites? And sure enough, that's what they did. We got a job rep to go, or a Home Depot rep to go to my job sites. We end up going through one of my job sites, picking up all the materials for that site and plus more. And we made this SKU list of everything we need for every job. And so now moving forward, we could just go in to the Home Depot rep would show up at the new job. We'd have a task list. The job supervisor would walk through with them with the task list and say, here are the things that we're doing. And we'd come up with a list, and bam, everything would be there. And now it was easy to get deliveries to our jobs. We had to spend way less time running back and forth to Home Depot. And then my job soups were in charge of going to Home Depot, not me.
So it's better for the environment. You've saved
better for the environment. Yeah. But it's just that was a system that we built in order to simplify the entire process and make it so much easier, take advantage of everything that we're able to do in order just to make it so much more streamlined. That's the biggest thing, is you've got to build those systems to make it streamlined. What process, when a tenant has a repair complaint, what do we do? Step one to the very end step where it's finished. What do? We have to have a system in place. If we don't know how it's going to happen, how do we know how to get it done?
Right. And you can definitely build all those systems within yourself, or the different vendors that you need and can incorporate in your business. They already have their own systems, just like Home Depot had a system to have a representative available. Or if you hire an outside property management company, they have their own systems in place. So you don't necessarily have to build all the systems yourself. There are other vendors out there that can take care of some of this for you too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's not all about just doing it yourself. Again, it's about building that team and relying on your team. I mean, you just nailed it. The Home Depot they're your team, or Menards, or, whatever lumberyard, whoever you're going to use as your supplier, but they're your team. So use them as part of your team. Don't try to do it all yourself and reinvent the wheel.
Yep.
So the next one, John, is kind of the trendy thing right now to say. Grant Cardone and Donald Trump used to always say it is think big. You've got to think big. And that's all cool because it sounds sexy, right? It's awesome. Like, think big. Wow, that's awesome. I'm going to think big and I'm going to own the world, right?
Who's got my money?
Who's got my money? But in reality, I agree with that concept. Think big, but you also have to potentially start smaller, right? Start realistic. within that though, make sure you always push your boundaries. So for me, it's like, okay, back to the real estate. If I'm comfortable buying a single family, well, instead of buying a single family, let's buy a duplex. If I'm comfortable buying a duplex, well, let's not buy a duplex. Let's buy a fourplex. If I'm comfortable buying a fourplex, well, forget it. Buy an 8-unit building. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Once you're comfortable then buying that fourplex, well, then move up. Go buy that 8-unit or that 15-unit building. Once you're comfortable with that, go buy something. Always be pushing yourself. Don't get comfortable. I allowed myself to get comfortable flipping houses and flipping the amount of houses I was flipping. I could have kept on flipping houses, but if I wanted to be successful, continually successful at it, I needed to push my boundaries. Instead of flipping 30 houses, I should have been flipping 130 houses. I should have been flipping 230 houses. I should have kept on going and building the systems and processes. I could have brought it, to different states and all that kind of stuff. So think big, absolutely. Starting small, though, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't think you have to wait and graduate and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's like, think about a pro athlete. Pro athletes aren't going to, they don't just arrive one day, right? They don't, I don't think, Michael Jordan woke up at 5 years old and said, I'm going to play the pros one day and be the greatest basketball player ever. And then he just did it. I'm pretty sure he worked really damn hard. And I'm pretty sure he started from the beginning and worked his way up until he became the best basketball player ever to play.
For sure. I know several years ago, after I purchased a flipping houses seminar course, I set out my goals and I was going to flip houses and I was going to double the amount of houses every month. And that did not happen. But
why?
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get a deal.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to part of what we talked about, being educated. I mean, you did do the course, but it's not necessarily, the course is only going to teach you so much. So along with the course, you should have the right people surrounding you. And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit, but the right people surrounding you, mentors, partners, whatever that is, in order to be successful in it. A course only goes so far. Education only goes so far. It's extremely important, but there's also other things, mindset. There's, there's actually the action of doing it. There's all kinds of things that go into it.
Yep.
And
it goes beyond just buying the course. You have to actually go through the course and
right.
spend time learning the process. And as I look back on my career, I think I would have done a lot better tagging along with somebody else who was successful instead of trying to recreate everything from the beginning. So.
Yeah. And I think that's really valuable, is to be able to tag along with other people. And again, we'll get to that in just a second. For me, like, thinking big is great. Again, like I said, Grant Cardone puffs his chest and tells everybody to go buy a 500-unit building. For one, I think part of why Grant Cardone does that is because it is sexy. It sounds great. So people want to listen, right? They want to buy his stuff because they do want to think big. They want to become millionaires tomorrow. The other thing, though, is that he knows that most of you will fail if you try to start out huge like that. And then once you fail, you get frustrated and you'll give your money to him to invest in his properties. So that's the other thing that he does.
Yeah.
But so my advice is to start. You've got to start somewhere. Make sure you start small, but start where you're uncomfortable. You always have to be uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, then you're not going to grow. So always start small enough, but yet big enough, and go fast enough where you can grow and get to that big point. But the other thing that starting small allows is it allows us to build our systems. It allows us to build our relationships. It allows us to make sure we're not taking shortcuts, which is next. it allows us to get those processes in place, to hire the right people, to build the right teams, all that kind of stuff. If we start really big and we make those mistakes, those are big mistakes, and those are going to be mistakes that are going to take you out at the neck, right? We just want to get some bruised knees, some banged up shoulders. That's it. We want to get hurt a little bit. We want to get punched in the face, but we don't want to get our head cut off. So that's why maybe starting big at the beginning isn't so smart. So as I said, the next thing I'm talking about is don't take shortcuts. And to me, that's really important. I've done it before. I took a shortcut. I had a house pre-sold and I was going to do the contracting work for them. And I had a very sloppy, very shortcut contract, and it ended up costing me $70,000 because of that. I can blame it on the slimy people that I did business with, which, they are, but that's not the reasoning why I got burned. The reasoning why I got burned is because I took a shortcut. It's my fault. So don't take shortcuts. Same thing with like hiring people. Like I've hired plenty of bad contractors because they're the cheapest, or they promise that they get it done the quickest or whatever it is. And it's shortcuts. It's me taking shortcuts, just hiring somebody quickly to try to get it done, and you end up getting burned in the end. So that's really important. Make sure you're doing your complete diligence, making sure you don't take shortcuts in anything that you do, your marketing, your renovations, the way you treat your employees, your relationship building, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you definitely want to have a good solid foundation there, because otherwise what you build on top is not going to stay. So
boom. I love it. So this is probably the most important, in my opinion, is building relationships. And more than just building relationships, John, it's about building relationships that are about helping other people, right? Helping other people get what they want. And where you just mentioned, like it would have been valuable for you to partner with the right people, or to, be part of their team. That's absolutely true. Be part of their team, provide them value, so you can then learn from them. So, if somebody comes up to you or to me and they want to learn from us, it shouldn't be about them. It should be about how they can help, us. Same thing if I want help from somebody else, I'm going to ask them. I'm probably going to actually not just ask them. I'm going to tell them what I'm good at, So, hey, look, I'm really good at underwriting. I love what you're doing. I'd love to help you underwrite your deals. I'm going to do it for free. I just want to help be part of your team and underwrite deals, and have that conversation with them. But make it all about them. And I think anytime we're talking about building relationships, it needs to be about the people we're trying to build that relationship with.
for sure. I mean, people love to hear themselves talk about themselves.
Yeah.
So if you can get other people to do that, they're going to realize that you're interested in them. And then after they get that out of themselves for a little bit, then they can say, oh, tell me more about you. And then you've provided this value to me. If they're really getting value out of it, we have a sense of reciprocity, I guess you would call it, that you want to give back. That's not necessarily your ultimate goal, but that's part of the process, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? If you get to know somebody, they're gonna find out what you do. They're gonna know what you do, unless you just hide it from them. But you're going to, just naturally talk about what you do. Just don't spew all over them about what you do. Don't force it upon them. Have a natural conversation. And, we talk about it's, who you spend the most time with is who you become. And so that's what it's all about. It's all about building good, powerful relationships. It's about surrounding yourself with successful people and becoming the sum of the people that you are around. And now is as great of a time as ever to be building those relationships, because there's going to be an opportunity in our economy where there's going to be low-hanging fruit to take advantage of. And what I mean by that is there's going to be a time where everybody's running for the exits because the economy is going down. And if you have the right relationships built, if you have all this stuff that we've talked about in place, you're going to be able to actually take advantage of it more than anybody else. So when they're running away from the fire, you're going to be running to the fire, trying to put it out and capture it.
Yep.
Well, the last thing, John, and this is, I can't remember the exact quote. I think I've said it before on the podcast. It's from the great philosopher, Mike Tyson. Be willing to get punched in the face. He says something quite a bit different, but it's the same.
I think he says everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Right. But you're going to have your plan, right? Like he said, you have your plan, get punched in the face. But here's the things: be willing to get punched in the face, and then get back up, and be ready to fight again. I think that's really important if you want to grow in your businesses. Get punched. You're going to get punched. Get punched in the face, stand up, and be ready to fight again.
Yep. And that's where, just to kind of bring it back around, that's where having that really obsessive why will help you stay centered on what you're doing, why you're getting up. Because if you don't have a reason for doing what you're doing, you run into some hardship, you get knocked down, then you're going to question, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Then you're going to run back home to mama with your thumb in your mouth, and you're going to be, in the fetal position the rest of the day. Yeah, that's it. Not that I've done that before. But yeah, I mean, you're right. If you have that passion, if you have that why, if you have that burning desire, when you get knocked down, you're going to get back up again, and you're not going to care. Right? You're going to learn from those mistakes. So,
yep.
Well, cool. Well, that's all I got, John. Anything else you want to add to the conversation?
No, I think that was a good overview of how to think about this. Everybody's going to be able to apply this differently to their specific business and niche. So we'd love to have your feedback on this. If something about this really touched you or spoke to you about how you can scale your business to the next level, we'd love to have your comments below, either on the YouTube video or in our Facebook group, or not group, but on our Facebook page. And of course, you can find us at Pillars of Wealth Creation. So we'd love to have your interaction there. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being part of it, John, and you have a fantastic rest of the day. Make every day Saturday. Are you ready to start investing in real estate today but don't know where to start? Sometimes investing can seem way too complicated, but it actually couldn't be any easier than with homeinvest.com. You know the co-founder and my friend Nate Armstrong. He appeared on episode 20, and if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it, episode number 20. Home Invest is a company that allows you to invest in turnkey real estate. Their goal is to build powerful investment tools that make real estate investing accessible to everyone. They have contractors and property managers available for you with the click of your mouse. While other real estate agents can only offer a property, Home Invest brings you a full turnkey package that allows you to diversify your investments, earn passive income, and start building equity in properties. Their simple, intuitive design allows newcomers and experienced investors alike to hit the ground running and to be able to choose the properties when they want and where they want. View easy to understand charts and data to allow you to buy in only a few clicks or just a simple phone call. With Home Invest, you'll be building your portfolio as quickly or as slowly as you would like. And right now, Home Invest is giving our listeners, Pillar of Wealth Creation listeners, a free course on how to finally win in real estate investing. So go to homeinvest.com/pillars. That's homeinvest.com pillars to claim your free course today.